Hi guys, Adam here, also known as Gamer Abroad, coming at you on my gaming channel, Gaming Abroad, and today we're going to be looking at the 12 available races in the brand new Blood Bowl 3. This game is only starting us with 12 races, so you can almost rest assured that many of the different races will be released later as microtransactions or downloadable content. I have an extensive and vast knowledge of this game. I have been playing this game before the game in its digital form even existed. I played this on tabletop. I'm an old man, and I can't wait to dig into this. First thing, let's look at the 12 races that are available. We have the Imperial Nobility. The Imperial Nobility has some strong points. They're very good at retaining the ball, and they're good at interfering with opposition and movement. Some other things that I know about the Imperial Nobility, going off my previous Blood Bowl experiences, are they are useful, and they have very unique starting skills. They have very cheap linemen with defend ability, and they can start with a lot of block and wrestles. Blocks are very good for staying up and not getting hurt. Their weaknesses are they favor defensive playstyles. It's not quite my playstyle, but if you like to be defensive, Imperial Nobility might be a good choice for you, but their rerolls are very, very expensive, and their stats are average. Now let's talk about the Orcs. The Orcs are a favorite of teams that like to cause destruction. And why is that? Because they excel in it. Their players are very robust, they're hard to hurt, and they're very strong. However, they are very slow, and they cannot pass the ball at all. But once you get that ball in their hands, it's pretty hard to knock it out. They have a very slow, if not average speed, but they're fairly cheap and expendable. I see a lot of players in ladder picking the Orc team because there's a lot of buttheads out there that just like to injure other players, and if that's you, Orc is the way to go. Now let's talk about the Black Orcs. Much like the regular Orcs, they are very strong and very powerful, and they have very inexpensive bruiser style linemen. They also can bribe the referees extremely cheaply, and they have the throw teammate option, and that is the famous move where you put the ball in the little goblin's hands and you have the big guy chuck him across the field, and he'll stand up with the ball and start running. It's actually quite fun. Their weak points are there are limited choices when you first start your team, when you're hiring, trying to fill your roster, and they have a poor passing game, almost disastrous, much like the Orcs, and really no true ball carrier except for the little goblin guy, and you better be able to throw him far. Now let's move on to the Humans. Humans are right in the middle. They excel at nothing, they're good at nothing, but they're average at everything. They are very adaptable, and they have a lot of skills at creation. This is the team that you will be playing in the campaign mode, as far as I know. I haven't actually got started yet, but I can almost guarantee that's true. Now let's go on to the Chaos Renegades. The Chaos Renegades, much like the Humans, are extremely adaptable. However, they can contain up to 3 big guys, which are very good for your front line, and they have easy access to mutation skills, which are very important in customizing and developing your team how you want it to play. The weak points are the animosity skill on most of the positions makes the passing game quite risky. They have limited striking power at creation, but don't worry, it does get better. And they have a high cost of team rerolls. Now that's a real big downside for me because I like to reroll. This is a dice-based game, and sometimes the dice go in your favor, and you need to use a reroll to save the game. This team, it'll be a little bit more expensive. Now let's move on to the SKAVEN team. SKAVEN's strong points are they are extremely fast, and their hiring costs are about down the middle. And they also have access to mutation skills, which, like I said earlier, extremely beneficial. However, much like the Elves, which we haven't got into yet, the players are frail, and maintaining an experienced team is a real challenge because sometimes your passers or even your ball carriers can get hurt, injured, or even killed, which can make your leveling process a little bit more one-sided on the bigger, stronger guys that will last a little bit longer. However, they are a fun team to play. Now let's move on to the Old World Alliance. The Old World Alliance, much like the Humans, are extremely adaptable, and they have specialized positions at a reasonable average cost. I also happen to know that they have pretty decent armor and a large variety of players, hence them being very adaptable. Their weak points are that loner skill on most of the positions. The weak points are that loner skill on most of the positions, and it makes the use of team rerolls risky, and they also have a very high cost of team rerolls. Some other knowledge that I'll give you guys is they have average agility and average ball handling, much like the Humans. Not good, but not bad. Now let's go into my favorites. Now don't let my opinion sway on how you play the game, but I really like the Elves. I haven't seen the Wood Elves yet, And much like Blood Bowl 2, I expect them to be released in a later downloadable content or microtransactions. But for now, we have the Dark Elves, and I'll get into the Elven Union later. The strong points are the superior Elven agility. Their key positions can be devastating, and by key positions, they mean the position called Witch Elves and their blitzers. They are very, very strong, and they can do a lot of damage. Their weak points, however, are they're expensive. The hiring costs are high, and it'll take a lot of money to get your team where you want it to be, and when you're first starting out, you won't have the roster that you want. Say goodbye to running a few Witch Elves and a strong front line, but you'll get there. Win some games, play some matches, and it'll work out. Now let's move on to Chaos Chosen. The Chaos Chosen strong points is they have a wide choices of big guys to hire. They are very competitive at high level, but if you read that as it is, that means they are not very competitive at a low level, but it's a very, very good team to develop, and they actually do get very, very good once they start leveling up. They also have easy access to mutation skills, and that comes in the leveling process. And that goes on to their weak points. As you can discern, they have few skills at creation. Their hiring costs, much like the elves, are very high, so it's a little hard in the beginning to get the exact team you want. You got to play the game, get some money, and you'll get there. Also, their passing game is extremely underdeveloped at creation, but you can develop into it. This is just one of those teams that's not very good to begin with, but play some games, level them up, pick your skills correctly, and they're a real good choice. Now let's move on to the Dwarf race. The Dwarf strong points. Well, let me say this. Dwarves are good for players that don't want their mates injured or even killed. They have the block skill, and it is widespread amongst players at creation. The block skill is what's going to keep you on your feet, and if you're on your feet, you're not getting hurt. That makes the players incredibly robust. I also happen to know from previous games that their rerolls are very cheap, and they also start with a lot of tackling power. Their weak points are the players are very slow. Well, I mean, look at their legs. So you know they're not running very fast, and they don't really have a true ball carrier on the team, much like the elves, as example, do have catchers, which are very good at holding onto the ball and very good at dodge rolls. Dwarves, not so much. Now let's move on to the Elven Union, which I think is going to be the closest to my favorite, which is the Wood Elves, which I mentioned earlier, which I can't wait to see in later downloadable content or microtransactions. Their strong points are their superior Elven agility, and much like the Dark Elves and all elves in general, they are good at passing, catching, dodging, and holding onto that ball. Their weak points are their hiring costs are high. Much like the Dark Elves, it's going to take you a while to fill in your team roster to have the team that you want, and their hiring costs are high. So much like the Dark Elves, it's going to take you a while to get the team that you want. They have an average robustness. I think they're actually kind of weak. I think they're easy to hurt, but they're not as easy as the SKAVEN, so maybe that's why they call it average. There's certainly no dwarves or humans or orcs for that matter. Now let's go into the 12th and final team that they made available at release for Blood Bowl 3, and that is the NURGLE. The NURGLE, I don't really have much experience. This is one of those teams that I actually have not played, but their strong points are the Plague-Ridden skill, which ensures a steady supply of new players. They disrupt the opposing teams relying on their agility, and they have easy access to mutation skills, so they can disrupt the opposing team relying on their agility. What that says to me is they're very good at disrupting dodge rolls and the player's ability to pick up and catch the ball. They also happen to regenerate, not to mention they have a foul appearance and a disturbing presence. They have very expensive rerolls. Their players are slow, and they have a poor passing game in addition to no true ball carrier. And here's my ugly mug. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Adam, also known as Gamer Abroad, and this is my gaming channel, Gaming Abroad. I'm an American immigrant that lives and works in Vietnam, but I'm a gamer just like you. And thank you so much for your subscriptions, your likes, and your comments. That has encouraged me to share my hobby and probably yours with the rest of the world. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome, and I hope you guys stay that way. And I'll see you guys out on the pitch.